in the house of the Lord today. A couple of announcements. On Wednesday, we have Bible study at 6:30. Please come out. Please push your way, press your way to Bible study on this Wednesday. Well, I want to roll it today because last week we didn't have it, right? And I got to do somebody say, I would have came to Bible study last week. You know what I'm saying? But I want to thank everybody for coming out. I always, this is what I love. As a pastor, this makes you go crazy. What makes you go crazy is when you see the members of your church serving and giving. And I saw that on this Wednesday. So I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart and say thank you for what you gave, giving of yourself on this Thursday past. I want to give a special thanks to just everybody who just worked hard. And then after we finished serving the first round, then you see people out there eating and fellowshipping, and it was a good time in the Lord. So I just want to say thank you guys for being the hands and feet of Jesus and representing the church. Not just the prevailing church, but the church. Nobody can talk about the church in the something. Not just I'm talking about the church in the something. Nobody can say what the church don't do because we represent, we're standing in the gap for every other church that may have gotten a little older, maybe lost sight of the vision of what we're supposed to be doing. So I just want to thank you guys for coming out and serving this community. It was definitely a blessing to be able to do that and to see people just kind of like, and every time they look at you, and it never gets old, huh, Kim, when people look at it and say, just breathe. Like, really? Like, you don't nothing at all? Let me give you something. And the funny part is somebody came up and said, oh, hey, Pastor, I want to give you this. They had a 20 in their hand. But you got some change. I said, well, give that 20 to the Lord. They said, well, that's what they said. But it was a blessing to be out there and serve the community. So I want to thank you guys for doing that. We got a lot of opportunity to keep doing that. Just a lot of things next month. October, that was our service to the community. We got Thanksgiving coming up where we're going to be able to serve the elderly in our neighborhood, and we're going to make sure that they have Thanksgiving, and we do that kind of stuff. So I just want to say thank you. It always gives me a deeper appreciation for the members I have here at the church. When we give it and we serve it, we're not just coming in these walls and just doing religion, but we're doing the work of Christ. Amen? Amen. Can I get a better amen? Amen. Okay, so here we go. So definitely today, I have a this is what I love most about the prevailing church and the culture that we have here at the church, that as a pastor, I can get up here and teach anything I want. Anything I want, my people are going to receive it, and they're not going to be bitter about it or be angry about what I teach, because we're a learning church, right? And I don't have to make you holler for $1 and send you on your way, but I can teach you something of substance. So today, this has been on my heart to teach for a long while now. And God finally opened the door to allow me to teach. We've been seeing in the news what they've been talking about. We just had a Supreme Court judge to be to go into the Supreme Court, and there was a big political battle over an accusation that came and said from a young lady older lady who said when they was in high school that Judge Kavanaugh had did her something or touched her, and you saw the testimony, it was very emotional, and so I want to talk about it because I want to give the context of the church. I want you to be able to talk about it when you leave here and talk about what the Bible says about those incidents. Now, I don't want to pass judgment either way on that situation. I don't know what happened. I couldn't tell you. I wasn't even born when that happened, but I can guarantee you, if you look back at my high school record, somebody come to y'all and say, I remember Pastor Tedrick was, So I hope nobody looks back in my closet, right? You'll see some stuff. But I definitely want to talk about it because right now in our culture is a very, I think there's two things that's happening right now. There's an assault on manly masculinity. And it didn't just happen when Trump got elected. I think we've been having assault on masculinity for a long time. And that has to force us as men, especially as righteous men, as men of the church, as men that stands for the Bible, to step up and say, not all men are doing this to women. Not all men are disrespecting women. Not all men are molesters. Not all men are gay. Not all men are child molesters. But we have a lot of great men that stand up and want to raise our family and be great men. So I want to say that because I want to say, I don't want to get up here and men bash. I don't want to get up here and men bash and say how men are so bad and how we're the problems of society, because society is doing that. They have some great, strong men that's doing a lot of great work for the Lord. But today, I want to talk about this issue that's before us. So the METOO movement, if you hadn't heard about the METOO movement, last year in October, METOO was made famous when the Harvey Weinstein, a very wealthy and very influential Hollywood producer, was accused by somebody in his past of multiple women of touching and groping them. All that in the light of having Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby come to the forefront what he was doing while he was selling the pudding pop commercials. He was, drugging these women and doing some stuff to them. And so all this came rolling about. And so this METOO movement hashtag, the METOO hashtag came on Twitter, and it gained a lot of momentum, and a lot of women started speaking out and saying, it happened to me, and this is how it happened to me, and it happened to me. And what you might not know is METOO didn't start in October of 2017. METOO had started back in 2006 by a lady named, and I have her name right here. Her name is Tarana Burke. Tarana Burke, she was in New York. She was an activist. And so she went to the New York community to start to empower young black ladies in the community. And when she sat down and started talking to these ladies and hearing their stories about how they had been touched and some pervert had did them something wrong, she came back and she made this movement. She made this organization called METOO, but it didn't get famous. It didn't get steam until October 2017. And you might be sitting there and you say, well, Pastor, why are we talking about this in the church? Because in the next month, November 2017, another hashtag got started. It's the church too got started, church too. And women started coming forward and saying how in church things had happened. And then we put that all in the light, and we sit here and we come and we praise Jesus and we worship him at this organization. And they had the church too movement where women came out and say, well, this person did me that, and this youth pastor did me that. And then we, in the light of that, we have, I think, over 10 investigations right now going on in the Catholic Church to go back and get records about how many priests had these, well, in Pennsylvania, 300 priests molested over 1,000 people. And then right now, even in Lafayette, this is how the church is looking. This is why I want to talk about it. Because in the church right now, I don't know if you know, this weekend past, they were supposed to have something called drag queen reading at the library. Drag queen, where men dress up as women and they read stories to young kids, right? They read stories to young kids. So people came out and said, hey, we're not going to do this. We're going to stand for righteousness. We're going to stand for righteousness. And one of the organizers said this. She said, because people are saying because that's against the word of God. And so one of the organizers said this. She got on TV and said this. Broke my heart. She said, why are you looking at these men who are dressing up with women to read to your kids? Where is your religious outcry when you have 60 priests in the Lafayette parish? In Lafayette, 60 priests that has been either reassigned or moved or removed because they have allegations of child pornography. Because she took that ball, the world took that ball, and they took it and they rolled it right back at the church. And they said, why are you coming at us saying what we shouldn't do in the world when you can't even keep your own house together? That's why. That's why your pastor loves you enough to preach a tough message, to tell you, say one or two things. This is what I want to happen. If you're a woman that's here today and you struggle and you've been through that, I want you to get free. I want you to know right now there's freedom in the name of Jesus. There's freedom to get through this. There's freedom because you don't have to live as a desolate woman. I'm going to get to that a little later. I want to tell this story about, we're talking about church right now. You see the young man at the bottom? The young man at the bottom right there, his name is Ronald McCray. Ronald McCray. And he tells this story. This week I was praying. I've been meditating on this a while. And I think it was about Tuesday. I was walking in work and something just, because I was like, God, like, why are these people, what makes them think, are they that frustrated sexually that they got to do this stuff? And God just spoke to my heart. He said, Tedrick, I created somebody for everybody. Right? He said, I'm telling you, and it just hit me like, he said, I created somebody for everybody. Like somebody got everybody. And so I was reading, and then one was while I was working hard. I just want to freak. I was working very hard, and I just happened to be on the computer. And this story came up on ChristianPost.com about this guy named Ronald McCray, and the headline said this: "Gay man marries lesbian woman." And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Wow, that's a match." So I started reading the story, and this guy, Ronald McCray, he's telling his story. He said, this guy at the bottom, he said, when I was 10 years old, I grew up, he was raised by his mom, and he was 10 years old. He walked into a room with his cousin, older cousin, and two of his friends that was in the room. They was watching pornography. And so when he went in the room, they looked at him, and they took a knife, and they pointed at him, and they started to make him play the role of the woman in the video that they were looking at. You put all the rest in there. And he said after that, he started to struggle with his sexuality. He started to think about his sexuality, started to struggle with it. And by the time he was 16, he started being very loose with his, he became very wild. And he engaged in high-risk homosexuality. High-risk homosexuality, what that is having a lot of sex with just anybody who comes along. And he said in his heart, because his dad wasn't there, he just thought nobody loved him. He was worthy, so he was running after love. He said he was running after love. And he said he was raised in the church. He said, but he never had a real relationship with God. That's one of my biggest fears, is that somebody's testimony is that say, I was raised in a prevailing church, and I never really knew God. That's one of the biggest fears of the pastor. But he said, I never really knew the Lord, and I never went to church because I thought they was going to judge me until one day somebody invited me to church. And when I came to church, they loved me. They didn't judge me. They didn't look down and nose at me, but they just loved me in the condition I was in. And he said, I started frequenting that church. Every now and then I go back, and the people would see me in the street, and they would encourage me, and I would keep going back. He said, until one day I was walking out of my apartment going to the gay club, and somebody put a gun to my head to rob me. And he said he started praying for his life at that moment. He started praying for his life. And said, Lord, if you give me one more chance, I'll live for you. The Lord gave him one more chance, and he started going to church. He got involved and started doing a lot of things. And he met this young lady that was in almost the exact same condition he was. They started befriending each other, fell in love, and they got married. That's the picture of their wedding right there, that they got married. And these stories happen over and over again in the Bible where these people were touched and they did something to their brain. Lucre, a rapper, he was about 10 years ago, he was the hottest thing in Christian music, right? He won Dove Awards and for the songs he wrote, and he tells his story about one day. I read his book; it's a very good book. And one day, he tells his story in his book. I guess it's his memoir about the day his cousin, his older cousin, his mom and him went over to his aunt's house, and they went to go play cards. And so him and his older cousin went in the basement, and she forced him to do things to her that he never exposed to. He never even knew anything about. And he said he remembers growing up, and he said he can remember this story so vividly about one time when it was Phil's Day, and his female teacher was there to hug him at the finish line. He said he ran, he buried his head in her crouch, and she just hugged him. She didn't know what he was doing, but he was imitating what he had learned from his cousin on his teacher. And he said he grew up in so many of the kids who had experienced being molested as a kid or raped as a kid. He said he remembered, he said it was like they had a group, and they didn't even have to talk to one another. They knew what was going on. None of the kids who had never experienced that knew what was happening, but all the kids who had been molested as a kid would run around, and they would just go into they would know exactly what to do to each other. And it was this unspoken code. And he said that affected him so deeply the rest of his life. And so that's why today I want to talk about this METOO movement, to get people free. Like I said, women, there's power, but the crazy part is, this is the crazy part about it. The statistics are all over the place. The worst I saw was 7 out of 4 young ladies. The best I saw was about 2 out of 5. Young ladies, I guess that's about the same thing. But said that, let's go with 2 out of 5. For every 5 girls, 2 of them have been touched. So that means if I ask every young lady in here to stand up, that means for every 5, 2 of them, some pervert and done something wrong. Right? That's what the statistic says. And if the statistic says that, that means that we have people, men in here, right? Men or maybe even girls in here who's done that before. So I want to talk to those people and say, there's forgiveness in Jesus, and you need to repent. You need to repent and stop. Because guess what? This is affecting people I don't know your story. A guy in my own work, just about a month ago, he got caught looking at child porn. Everybody wanted to throw him off the cliff. Say, throw him off the cliff, that bum. And I said, does anybody know what he went through as a kid? Because statistics says, it broke my heart when I was studying for this. I'm studying for this, and it's breaking my heart. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to teach this. I had a good sermon called The Right People, the Right Place at the Right Time, right? That would have been good. Everybody was shopping on that one, right? I had that one in my mind. I'm trying to run from this thing, but I'm studying and I'm seeing that this is a problem that we need to fix, and it's going on among the people of God, but nobody's talking about it, and nobody's talking about it. So I'm saying today to any of my young ladies that's here, if you don't think anybody advocate for you, tell Pastor, I got you. I promise you, I got you. And I'm going to believe you. I'm going to believe he's going to be guilty until proven innocent. I can tell you that much. I got you back. Because it's happening so much and we can't talk about it. So today I'm going to go and I'm going to just drop some, let me drop some statistics before I get into the Bible, what we're going to talk about today. This is the statistics. Turn it down a little bit, man. This is the statistics that I came up with and I saw online. I just thought these were important. This is what the statistic says from the CDC. It says every 98 seconds someone in the USA is sexually assaulted. Every single day, more than 570 people experience sexual violence in this country. In 1998, in 1 year, 1998, over 18 million people were sexually assaulted in America. 99, listen to this, 99% of the perpetrators of sexual violence walk away free. And of the 1% that get caught, the 1% that go to court, only 3% is convicted. Only 3% out of the 1% that's caught is convicted. 80,000 is the estimated numbers of inmates who experience sexual violence in jail or prison in this country. 80,000 men get raped in jails every year, right? In case any of y'all young men planning on going to jail anytime soon, you have an 80% chance of being raped in jail. And you might be like, well, why did y'all get people to jail? No, I studied this as different types of rape. It's something we call rape for authority, to show your authority over somebody else. So they rape men in jail just to show that I'm the man and you're not. Gorillas do the same thing, right? 7 in 10 people who are molested know they're molesters. 93% of children know the 93% of the children know the person who molested them. And listen to this. I want you to listen to this and listen to this well. In case anybody wanted to be silent, to keep the family together, anybody wanted to be silent because they don't want to tell on this person. The average numbers of victims of someone who molests, the average number, each of them molests 12 kids. A total of each kid 71 times. They said on the high end, one man had 1,200 victims. 1,200 victims of just himself. And then they said, we was reading, they studied the psychology of this, and they asked the man, they said, because he kept doing it because he'd never get caught because nobody ever said anything. Right? And nobody ever said anything. And then, so let's talk about the mental part of this. And I'm going to bring all this out in my sermon. I'm just giving y'all statistics right now. They took a man who was a child molester. And he took a picture of a naked woman, and they put it in front of his face. And they had these brain monitors hooked up all over, you know how they do it, right? All over the place. And they put a picture of a woman in front of his face with no clothes on, and no brain activity. They put a picture of a little boy in front of him, and his mind went crazy. It went crazy because, and a lot of people believe that adults do that because of their environment growing up, because of their environment, because they had a certain environment. They had an overly aggressive father or a father who wanted to just dominate everything, so they felt that they should be able to dominate everyone, and so they go out and they do the same things. Father, we have to be careful what the way we raise our sons, and we got to be careful what the way we love our daughters, because most victims don't say anything because they don't feel anybody will advocate for them. They don't feel like they have a partner in the world. And one of these things really convicted me because I was listening as I was studying for this. Y'all good? Y'all? Yeah. Okay. I was listening to testimonies. And I studied and researched the subject as much as I could. And I was listening to one of the victims. She said she never told her father. She said she never told her father because her father said this. And it shook me. It really shook me to the core. She said, I never told my dad that I was raped because he told me that he would kill the person that raped me. And I did not want to lose my dad. And a month before, I've been telling Bree, Dad ain't going to jail. I'm going to be judge, jury, and execution. I'm going to jail. They don't have to. And then the other week, she was riding in the car. She said, Mama, Daddy told me if somebody ever did me anything, he was going to kill him. And I was like, wait, maybe I need to go back and rethink my words a little bit. But we need to be careful about the way we raise our daughters, and we need to be protecting them. And I love, I'm going to tell you what I love. I love the women in this church, because I know a lot of y'all, and I can name them right now. Kim don't trust her kids, nobody. I can tell you that right now. Keisha, no, it ain't going nowhere. Nick, no, none. See what I'm saying? That woman, I know Ashley, she did, I don't know, I want you to do this. Nah, I'm just messing with y'all, right? I'm just joking, but we have to protect them, because once it happens, there's no going back. We get one shot. Some pervert around it, especially with this transgender bathroom thing going on. I listened to one of those. The girl said, middle school child went in the bathroom, 5th grade, in New York. They signed this all-inclusive bill. She left school, she left class, she asked the teacher, could I go use the restroom? She goes to the restroom. A boy who claims that he's feeling feminine, he's a girl today, 8th grade, goes in the bathroom, touches the child in the bathroom. She didn't know why he was doing it, walked in the stall, because he said, we have to protect our girls at all costs. So now let me get y'all ready for the word? Yeah. I just the message took all the way. Sharon was singing all good and all the spirit was high. Right? Here we go. So we're going to start right here. I'm going to start right here. First Samuel. Take the Bible and turn it over to Samuel, chapter 13. Samuel chapter 13. 2 Samuel chapter 13, verse 19. We're going to start there. We're going to go through that whole chapter. And I'm going to kind of try to work at some of the stuff I saw. Because the crazy part is, as I was studying the psychology behind this whole METOO rape molestation culture, and I start to read in the Bible, and the same traits pop out in the dude in the Bible. Right? The same stuff pop out in the victims in the Bible, right? So when you have it, say, man, it's on the screen. What else? 13, 19, here we go. It says this, and I'm gonna start at the end, and we're gonna work our way back. It says Tamar put ashes on her head and tore her ornament robe she was wearing. She put her hands on her head and went away weeping loud as she went. Her brother Absalom said to her, look, she didn't say that, but her brother Absalom saw her and looked at her and says, has Amnon, your brother, been with you? Listen to this, y'all. Has Amnon, your brother, been with you? The next thing he says, and we've been yelling it to victims for over 2,000 years. Wow. Be quiet. For now, my sister, he is your brother. Don't take this thing to heart. Wow. And Tamar lived with her brother Absalom in her brother Absalom's house, a desolate woman. And so right now, this is what we have. This is the story of people who experienced this. We are living with desolate women. We're living with women. Men, you wonder why you got your girl, you be like, she is crazy. What's wrong with her? She's so emotional. She has these problems and that problem. It's maybe because you have a desolate woman. Inside her brain, she's desolate because somebody, when she said something, or even she did say something, they didn't want to see the signs, and they said, be quiet, he's your brother, we don't want to mess up the family, we don't want to bring shame on the name of the family, so you will have to bear this burden your whole life, and you married her the most intimate, or you was her boyfriend, the most intimate thing in her life. You wonder why she's struggling. It's because she never dealt with her desolation. And the saddest part of the story, before I even get started to tell you how it was, this is the saddest part of the whole story. And King David heard about this. He was furious. Period. He did not do anything. did not do anything. He just kept his mouth closed, didn't say nothing. The same thing is going on today. We want to be quiet. We don't want you to say anything. We don't want, for any reason we got, we don't want you to say something. So let me get her story to y'all. Let me get her story to y'all. So we're going to go back. We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to start from the beginning. The Bible says this, in the course of time, Amnon. In the course of time, Amnon. Now Amnon, this is who Amnon is. Amnon is David's oldest son. He's his oldest son. So this boy, let me talk about the psychology of the whole thing. This boy started out with David. This boy was with David when he was going to kill the Philistines. This boy was with David when he was going in, totally destroying, raiding parties. He saw his dad murdering people, take anything he wanted, do anything he wanted because he was the king. And then on top of that, when you're the king's son, everybody know your dad is the man around the city. Yo, every little girl, she trying to, oh, you know what I'm saying? Right, any girl he wanted, he had got to the point where anything he wanted. The Bible says this, David had a habit of with his sons, of not rebuking his sons, of not raising his sons. Right, David was a man after God's own heart, but he had issues because the Bible says this, in the course of time. Let me tell you what happened right before. Why 13 had to be in the course of time? Because 12 was when David slept with Bathsheba. Wow. So Amnon had heard about daddy taking this man's wife, killing him, and then getting him pregnant with his son, with and he still was the king. So now nothing, you see how it's setting up his psychology? It's setting up him to think nothing is nothing. I can have anything I want. And you know how it is. When you can have anything you want, you push the limits of what you want. Right? When you can have anything, any girl, I can have anything I want. Well, let me see if I can find one that I can't have. Right? So then, right? And then it says, he fell in love with Tamar, his beautiful sister, Absalom, the sister of Absalom, son of David. So now he's sitting there. Let's think about the psychology of this thing, right? So he's sitting there. I can have any woman I want. I can have anything I want. I can go anywhere I want, do anything I want to do. And I don't want these women who want me. I don't want this thing. I want the forbidden fruit. It's kind of like Eve, right? Sin is always there, right? Sin always pushes us to want. Paul said this. He said, I wouldn't have knew I was a sinner if it wasn't for the law. If the law never told me I could not do it, I wouldn't want to do it. But since the law and sin is living in me, I want that because now I can't have what I want. That's what it is. You can't. Nobody in here. How can I say it? Okay, so. If you can have it, if you can have all of it you want, it's like the new bike, right? You get the new bike from girl, oh, I got a new bike, and it's the best bike, it's a shiny bike. A week later, you done had the bike, I want a motorbike, right? And then when I get that, that's why we accumulate as humans. We get stuff because we just keep getting stuff. We can't have. He's the same way. So in his mind, he's saying, you know what? I can't have it, so I will fall in it uses the word love. Right? He uses the word love. He fell in love with his sister, Tamar. Now, the Bible is Greek. The Bible in Greek has 4 types of love, right? You might have heard certain love before, because in the 90s, everybody was preaching that stuff, right? It's agape. You know, agape is agape. Agape is like Jesus type of love. Like, that's the love that's sacrificial. That's the love. You don't even deserve this. You don't even, it's not what you've given me, but I just love you regardless of anything else. And I'll give my greater love. That's what, you know how I said, greater love has no man than this that lay down his life for his friend. And I call you friend, that's the love God gives us, right? Because we can mess up all we want. And well, I ain't gonna say we can mess up all we want, but we can mess up and God still loves us. Amen. He doesn't turn his back on us, right? And there's Philadelphia, right? There's Philadelphia is friendship love, right? Brotherly love, right? You and your girl, y'all tight. You know, your girlfriend, y'all tight. You know what I mean? Like, your woman, and you got your friend, y'all tight. Y'all go, y'all got, I said what up? Philadelphia. Right? That's where we get the word Philadelphia from. Brotherly love, right? So we brotherly love. And then there's Sergeant, right? Sergeant, y'all know right? Sergeant, that's between mothers and kids and fathers and kids and how you love your family members. There's Sergeant. storge. So you got agape, godly love, and you got phileo, Philadelphia, that's on brotherly love, and you got family love, storge, and then you have eros. Eros love. That's the love I love Ashley. Well, I was asking. Right? Eros love. Now, eros is between a man and a woman. Right? Eros love is between a man and a woman. That's romantic love. And, and what happens is Satan's goal is to get us to mix them up. Right? He started to mix them up. So then the guy, the little boy that was struggling with his sexuality, and then he wanted to have some Philadelphia love with his brother, right? Satan comes in and says, "Nah, you don't need Philadelphia. You need eros." Wow. Right? You see how you can mix it up, right? Yeah. And then you get into friendships, and you think you got some agape love with some people, because some people you get an agape love with that you give it, give them everything, right? You think you got agape, and then you thought he was coming over there because he had some agape for you. But he had some eros over there waiting on you, right? And then what Satan does, he switches. That's what, eros love, that's where we get the word erotic from. And Satan has taken it and transformed it into something it wasn't. So in this case now, this is Hebrew, right? So this is not those 4 words, but the 4 words is in a Greek. But let me, I'm going to take it and I'm going to apply it back into here. So he was supposed, Amnon was supposed to have what kind of love for Tamar? Storge, right? Because it was his family. That's my sister, right? Storge is sister, right? But instead, what kind of love he had for? Eros love. And it messed the whole thing up. Because you cannot have Eros for your sister. You cannot have, you can't do that. It's just, it doesn't work. Because at that point, you know what it ceased to be? It ceased to be love. When it's out of order, when you get love out of order, it's no longer love at all. It's something perverted, and that's what Satan does. He calls us to pervert it, because remember I told you he always shows his hand. So he's going to show his hand. So he fell in love with Tamar. And said, Amnon became obsessed with her, with his sister Tamar, and made himself ill. She was a virgin, and it seemed impossible to touch her. So now Amnon is sitting there. He has this in his mind. Satan and sin are always cause us to go longer, to stay longer than we want to stay, cause us more than we want to be. Right? He always does it, right? So then he gets this thing in his mind. And you know how you are. You know how you are. When you get these ideas in your mind, and it's just you and your mind, and then your flesh just pop up in there. So he started to just think about this stuff. Think about the psychology of it. He got this idea in his mind. And the Bible says he became ill because he couldn't have it. He became sick. Was he really sick? Was he going to die? Was his head hurt? No. He just was in his mind. He could not think and he could not focus because sin was growing so much in his mind. And he's sitting there and he's battling this. And now he's sitting there. He said, I can't touch her. And because it's impossible for me to touch her, that's the more I want her. He's having this battle in his brain. And his sister is there with her beautiful virgin self. Let me say this to all my young ladies. I want to say this. Pastor, I'm going to say this right now. Pastor want all of y'all. I want to marry you. And I want you to walk down with your veil over your face. And I want your man to come. And I want him to flip it over your face. And I want you to just be in love with your husband. And I want you to save yourself. Because every older woman, let me tell you, young ladies, every older woman going to tell you. She's going to tell you right now, it ain't worth it. Just save it for your husband, right? Just save it for your husband. Because God will honor that. And if he won't wait for you, right? He's not for you. He's not willing to wait. And if he like it, put a ring on it. I'm telling you, Pastor, I'm going to go on a stretch. And I want to say this. If you are a young lady and you wait and you do it right, we'll see you on the honeymoon. Woo! We'll see this church will see you on the honeymoon. Not going to be in Mississippi or William. One night, doing it for y'all. Because I know, we tried the world's way, and I didn't pass it with that. But I want to, let's do that. Let's do that in church. We're going to do two things. We're going to have our girls get married virgins, and we're going to have none of them be touched by nobody. That's what we're going to do right now. It seemed impossible for him to touch it. The Bible says this. And I'm talking about it in his head. That's why Jesus always take care of me. Matthew said this. Jesus said this in Matthew. He said, you heard it said, do not commit adultery. Do not commit adultery. I'm telling you, if you think about a woman with lust, if you look upon her with lust in your heart, he said you've already committed adultery. And your eyes cause you to sin. Plug it out. Because it's better for you to go to hell with one eye than to live, it's better for you to go to heaven with one eye than to go to hell with two of them, right? And so when I'm telling you what happened was, that's why he said, don't let the lust enter your heart. Because that's when he messed up. That's when he messed up. He messed up when he let that idea, a thought reap an action. Right? When you let thoughts, that's what the Bible said on Philippians 4:19. Whatever was pure, whatever was love, whatever was good report, whatever was praise, whatever, think on that. Right? Think on that stuff, right? Because if you start doing that, it's always going to be more. And it's because we've accepted the small stuff. We've accepted the thoughts in our mind, and nobody was thought that was okay. Oh, he's just thinking about it. I ain't touch it. I just was thinking. I was looking. Y'all, somebody heard that. I just was looking. I don't touch. No, you took that. And then, you know what that came for? That wasn't enough. But sin, let me talk to you young men. Sin always going to take you there, right? So then you thought about it. And so you started watching it. And then watching it wasn't good enough. Right? And then so now you're starting to act on it. And you start to act out of it, and you got to have it, right? And so what I'm saying is, if you want to do it right, just don't cast down, the Bible says this. Cast down every thought and imagination that exalted itself against the knowledge of God. And men, we need to start doing that. Guess what? Pornography addiction is in the church, is at an all-time high amongst men and women. Right? We can't let it get in our head. Jesus said, if we let it up there, he said, pluck your eye out or you're going to hell. Now, I don't want none of y'all pluck your eye out. Don't go back to the man told me to plug it out. Well, you do it, I ain't gonna lie. I won't put the picture on Facebook. I told him don't look at it. He plucked his eye out, right? So what I'm saying is, we let that stuff get in our mind. Man, let's stand and say, you know what? Because guess what? You can teach what you know, but you reproduce who you are. So if you're watching it, get what your son gonna say. I learned from watching you. I found them boxing videos up under the bed and magazines. Now, they don't have magazines no more, right? They don't have that. But anyway, we got to stop. We can't let it get in our head, or we're going to do like Amnon is going to take us places we did not want to go, because Satan is waiting on opportunity to come in. The Bible says, the next verse says, this will happen. So he was obsessed with Tamar. He was looking at Tamar. And then Satan always show his hand. I told y'all, if you read the Bible, Satan will always show his hand. He cannot have it. He always gonna pile on. He had Amnon's thought, and then he had a friend. What his friend was named? Jonadab. Right? He had an advisor, which was his cousin, named Jonadab. And said, Jonadab, Amnon, you're the king's son. What you doing walking around here looking so haggard? Haggard means to look fatigued, just to look fatigued. What you doing looking all worried and fatigued? And now you're the king's son. He said, oh man, I want my sister and I can't have her. How perverted does that sound? Jonadab, instead of saying, because the Bible said evil corruption or evil friendships corrupt good habits, right? Evil communication corrupts good habits. So instead of doing that, say, man, you so nasty. We need to have some counseling or something like that. Let me go tell somebody what you're going through. He said, man, let me tell you how to build you up. This is how you're going to have it. See, Satan always, he's not going to just give you the idea. Satan, believe it or not, he always comes with a plan. He didn't just give him an idea. He said, you can have your sister, go get her, man. He said, nah, this is what you need to do. You need to go to bed and go to your dad and say, you want to tell Martha to come cook for you. And when she come cook for you, Just grab it and do what you want to do. Right? That's what she said. He said that's what he said there. You know. And so he went to his daddy. He went to his daddy, unsuspected daddy, not worried about his daughters, not paying attention to what's going on in his house. Hey, Dad, I'm sick. Tell Tamar to come in here and cook me something to eat. And Satan, and David delivered his own daughter to the store. He said, Tamar, I want you to go down there with Amnon, and I want you to cook for him. The first thing he should have knew, man, I got all these servants. They can come cook anything you want. Tamar can't cook anyway. She probably was limited. Okay, that's let me stop. Why do you want my daughter to come cook for you if you're sick? You need the doctor. But instead, he let her go in the room. And that's men. I'm talking about me too. We got to be conscious about how we raise our daughters. I'm keep saying that over and over and over again. You are her number one protector. I'm saying protect with everything you do. Right? So question it, right? Don't know you can't go to all the parties everybody else goes to. You can't do what everybody else do. But daddy, everybody else, mama, them let them go, but that ain't you, dad, I ain't you, that ain't I'll feed you. I told you when they come in here facing business, they can make decisions. You're supposed to be right there. Because the truth of the matter is, all of us adults have been out there. It ain't nothing out there. It ain't nothing. You're not missing nothing in the world. At all. So instead, he didn't ask the questions. He didn't have a, no, you're not going there. And so she goes in. She's a good daughter. She's a good daughter. She goes in the room. She fixes his food. He tells everybody, get out the room. Get out the room. Get out the room. And everybody leaves. And the Bible says 13:1. It says that when she took it to him to eat, he grabbed her and said, come to bed with me, my sister. Come to bed with me, my sister. Let's think about where she's at. And Tamar is wise. When I read this, beyond her years, she says, no, my brother. No, my brother. So she, okay, this is why, let me put a period right there. This is why, what happens is, and they said this is they interviewed rapists. They interviewed rapists. And they said this. They said what happens in a rapist's mind is he objectifies his victim. So let me say what that means. Instead of her being his sister, she becomes a thing. Or that person is no longer a person with feelings and care and character. They become a thing. Let me put something right there. Now, I'm saying this. There's no reason a man should never rape a woman. No means no. I don't care if you want to sit there and watch TV or you none. No means no. But women, let me tell you this. You have a point to claim this. Objectifying. When we show all of our stuff, and you know the stuff you have, right? Some of y'all got stuff, some of y'all got stuff, you know what I'm saying? When you show, what? Y'all just got unholy, but you know what I mean. What happens is, they say in his mind, he just only sees breast or butt. And then you only become, and then let's take rapists out of that. Let me help you. The game is to be sold, not to be told. I'm going to tell it to you, right? If you attracted a man with your objects, he's only going to look at you. He has no other choice. He fell in love with the object. And once the object is gone, Proverbs tells us this. It says, beauty is fleeting, but a virtuous woman you can find. She is worth more than beauty and gold. So now, Solomon made a comparison. He said, you can be beautiful or you can be virtuous. I tell you which one is worth the most. Right? Being virtuous. Because we all know everything that was up here, gonna be down here. Everything that was here, gonna be down here. It's easy. But guess what? This is a serious subject. Our beauty, all right? But guess what? When all that stuff is gone, he's still going to be in love with that woman who is virtuous. He is never. You know, I can't trade you in on a new model. I gotta keep you because I can't get rid of Ashley. And I don't care how much of this and that she got. She can't take Ashley's spot because why? She do more for me than that. Right? She do more for me than that. So that's what I'm saying. Women, don't object. Don't give them nothing. Don't give them nothing. Make them buy the chicken. Don't give them the egg. So okay, so y'all with me? Everybody with me, right? Now get back serious because y'all just got out the spirit quick. Okay, listen. So now they said they interviewed the rapist. They said what happens is he changes in his mind. Literally, it's a real thing. He changes the victim into a thing to be used. He changes it into a hammer or a car or object. So he doesn't consider the feelings. He doesn't consider, and that's why they're so defiant. When the ones that get caught, they're so defiant and they don't care what happened. They're not crying. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I've done this. They just sit there and just go through their thing. Because guess what? They're just looking for another tool to be used. That's why the victims add up because they never get enough. So now she's saying, look, I'm not an object. I'm not, when you study it, you can just see her thinking. She said, I'm not an object, brother. I'm your sister. Yeah. You was there. You're my older brother. You're the older. You were there when I was born. You changed, not my diaper, but whatever they did back then. Right? You were there. You saw me walk. I'm Tamar. Yeah. She said, I'm not your object. And don't force me to do this. Don't force me to do this. What enjoyment you going to have if you force me? This is not love. You know, don't force me to do this. And then she said, such a thing. You shouldn't even do this in Israel. Remember I told y'all Israel represents the Old Testament church? She said, this is not Christians, men of God. You're not supposed to do this. I'm your sister. You're forcing me, and it should not be done. This is not right. Don't do such a wicked thing. And then she starts to ask him, okay, well, if it's not for your pleasure, what about me? What about what I'm going to go through? What about, because at that time, if a girl was not a virgin when she got married, she didn't have no other choice. If she didn't have some rich or wealthy person in her family, she couldn't get married. She wouldn't get married. It would be very rare if someone had lost their virginity to get married. The Bible even Deuteronomy makes proof of this. He said, if a man touches a girl and he rapes her and she lives, he's forced to marry her, pay her father a dowry, and he can never divorce her. And at that time, if you didn't treat your wife right, that you had consequences. So he said you always have to take care of her, because if you do this and she's not with you, then she has nobody else. She won't get married, right? She's lost her honor. She said, what about me, brother? What about me? Where can I go to get rid of my disgrace? What about you? What about me? Now, what about you? You would be considered one of the fools. You would be like one of the wicked fools in Israel. Please speak to the king. And I don't think she's saying this because she want to be with Amnon. I think she's just trying to say what she got to say to get out of a bad situation. You know, kind of like, I love. Speak to the king. He's not going to stop us from getting married. Right? She's trying to, y'all see her psychology, what she's going through in this thing. She's saying, look, if you're going to force me, guess what? If we can get married tomorrow and trying to get out of the situation. She said, please speak to the king. He will not keep you from being married to you. But he refused to listen to her. And since he was stronger than her, he raped her. And the Bible says this. You know you can get it to what happened. But it says that he refused to listen to her. And says, 15 says, then Amnon hated her with intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he had loved her. So now we get to that problem that a lot of women, really a lot of women, not even in rape, I'm not going to say rape. When we do it, we refuse love so much. We refuse love so much. We use that word love so loosely. We use it so cavalier and freely and just throw it around like it's is nothing. And when we get what we want, the Bible says immediately he had got what he wanted. And he hated her. He didn't say he didn't like her. He didn't say he wanted to get rid of her. He said he hated her. You know why he hated her? Because I think, this is what I truly think, I think Satan had set him up. Satan set him up to do what he wanted him to do, and what he left with him. Satan, on the way, like I told y'all, he did the same thing to Judas. He set Judas up to go betray Jesus, and he left him hanging the hanging cell. He always does it. He sets us up, we think we love, and everything gonna work out. And then as soon as we get what we want, or it doesn't work out the way we want, we hate that relationship. We despise that relationship. And so now here's Amnon. He's sitting there. And everything she said, what about you? You'll be a wicked fool in Israel. He's realizing the fact that now I can never take it back. And now it just hit me like a ton of bricks. That was my sister. And I just disgraced her. And I don't want to deal with it. And he does like most people do when they sin. Instead of facing their sin, they just try to get rid of it. So he told us, she said this, she says this. Amnon said to her, get up and get out. No, she said to him, sending me away would be greater wrong than what you have already done. But he refused to listen to her and get back to where he started. Then Mark put ashes on her head. She tore on the robe she was wearing. She put her hands on her head and went away weeping loudly as she went. Her brother Amnon said, has Amnon been with you? And the crazy part is, Absalom saw it. He didn't have to say anything. He saw it. He saw the sign. Let me warn you women, that if this is going on, there are always signs. And I need us as a church, let's be cognizant of those signs. If that girl been running around there all happy and jolly and joyful and full of life, and she changes, you need to be asking yourself a question. Has somebody know? Maybe she's just waiting on, maybe she's angry, she's just waiting on somebody to say, and something happened to you. We need to be the advocates for stuff like that. Right? I know it's weighty, and I know it's heavy, but we want to change. We want to be different. We want to be the church that's going to stand for righteousness. We want to be the church that's going to say, we're going to go, the Bible says, evil always, not even, he doesn't say that personally, it doesn't quote the person, he said, evil always prevail when righteous men do nothing. Wow. And I want to stand up and say, you know what? We're going to be that church everybody talking about. Yeah. All of them, you better not touch nobody associated with anybody in the Prevail church, because they're going to tell, they're going to want you on the hill. Right? That's what we need to be. Amnon sees it. And Absalom sees it. And Absalom don't just do nothing about it. He does say, just be quiet. Just be quiet. That's your brother. I got you. This is what he does. He calls a meeting. He said, you know what, Dad? He waited till time passed. And he said, hey, Dad, I want all my brothers to come to my house. And I'm going to have a big party. I'm going to have a huge party. And we're going to get together. And we're going to do something. We're going to do it big. I want to get my brothers. And they was like, nah, I ain't going to come with y'all. Y'all go. I'm going to tell everybody to come with y'all. And when Amnon was there, Absalom told him, he said, when my brother Amnon gets drunk, I want you to kill him. I want you to kill him. Right then and there. So Absalom, there's no victory in doing nothing. And I want us to be the same way. I ain't going to say, now I'm not telling nobody to go out and kill nobody. But let's tell somebody. Let's be those advocates. Let's be those people to say, you know what, I'm not going to just talk about it. I'm going to do something about the issue. He says this. He took Tamar, and Tamar lived with him, a desolate woman. Now I got some things. I want two things I want to cover, and we're going to be done. We're going to be done and get out of here. I want to talk to people. One is, so some things, some practical things, if you've been through this, if you've been through this. And this is psychologists talking. I just kind of stole in those. This is not me coming off with this off the top of my head. And this is what psychologists said. The first thing, if you want to find healing, you've been touched, you've been molested, the first thing you have to do is talk about your feelings. You have to tell somebody. You have to say, whether you're an older lady here, whether you're a young lady who's never told anybody, I'm asking you from the pulpit, as your pastor, to find somebody and talk about it. Maybe that talk about might need to be with some professional help, because sometimes this is what happens. You may have been making decisions out of a hurt place and wondering why life doesn't work for me. Why does life not work for me? When I get in relationships, they don't work. I'm always angry. When I get on my job, everywhere I go, I have these relational issues. It's because you may be here bottling some stuff up for too long. And you're wondering why you're exploding on people and you're exploding on your kids and you're exploding. It's because you've been hiding that. And what Satan wants to do, Satan always loves doing battle in the dark. I'm going to say that again. Satan always loves to do battle in the dark. But if we bring light to a dark place, we don't have to fight by ourselves. So tell somebody. Just tell somebody. Let me say tell somebody. The next thing you can do is stop blaming yourself. It's not your fault. It's never your fault. They surveyed a bunch of women, and I was studying, and people said this. This is what a lot of the young ladies said. They said, I thought I was raped because of the way I dressed. And I thought I was raped because of the way that I acted. Because I got drunk that night. Or I did this. I went to the party. Or I let them on. So I'm not going to say that. Guess what? No means no. Right? So it wasn't your fault. The next thing you can do, like I said, is get professional help, and then you can get your friends and your families involved to learn about what you can do. Because if you keep on fighting this, in my last, and I'm going to talk to my men. Let me talk all my young men. Pay attention to me right up here. Right? I'm going to talk to you. I know, this pastor being real, I know what it's like to be a young man.